Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Hab and this is the WZ-113G FT. And that's a pretty long name, so I'll just call it the Powerhouse from here on out. I tend to sleep on tier 10 tank destroyers and tier 10 in general, as I am mainly a medium and heavy player, and a lot of my favorite editions are at tier 9. However, I decided to take this thing out on a whim, and safe to say I wasn't disappointed. I don't even really feel like there's much to say about this thing, to be honest. So, the gun. You're looking at about 13.5 seconds of reload time, but you hit decently hard. The AP deals 650 alpha. Heat and HE still deal 550 and 960, so you shouldn't expect any miracles there. But as it always is with HE shells on these big cannons, it means good numbers if you know where to aim. Speaking of aiming, the aim time is actually excellent, just short of 2 seconds. Dispersion is very whatever, but there's a reason I run the refined gun on a lot of tanks. The Powerhouse benefits greatly. The soft stats are surprisingly good too, so I don't feel too bad about running the Powerhouse a little strangely. Penetration figures are enough for basically anything without the need for calibrated shells, and in general the gun is surprisingly well rounded. 6 degrees of gun depression is just about the only con, and even then, it's a Chinese TD, so you can't expect a whole ton. It's kinda surprising how decent the gun is, and you can expect solid damage numbers for most matches. The armor is probably where people will raise their eyebrows. Those who have played the tier 9 predecessor to the Powerhouse will know how genuinely garbage that tank could get. If anything, that's just an ISU a tier higher with armor that can barely handle the average tier 8 nowadays, so I think most people will be quite happy when I say the upper plate has over 60mm more effective armor. It doesn't really do much against premium shells, but with wiggling and terrain utilization, you're looking at a reasonably trollish and reliable armor profile. Overall, the tank can easily be considered to be an all-around upgrade to the tier 9 equivalent. The same rules apply when angling, so when going around the corner make sure you're not showing the more normalized side since they taper into the front and that makes angling a little less reliable. Though since that part still has about 180 mils of nominal armor, it doesn't happen too often. Generally, excluding the lower plate of course, the Powerhouse has surprisingly solid armor, being able to perform as a solid assault TD. I'm quite chuffed with the profile as a result. It's not really difficult to get steel walls in this thing. You do get 2000 HP on top of that, so your overall survivability is actually pretty good. We've gone a long way since the tier 9 trash can. The mobility, well, you know the drill, right? The Powerhouse ain't exactly light. 54 tons is not chump change, so the engine inside is also reasonably beefy, giving the Powerhouse about 15 effective horsepower. That's still more in line with most heavy tanks at tier 10, however. 42 kph forwards isn't terrible by any means, but it is very middle of the road, and the same goes with the traverse figures. 36 degrees is just at the point where getting circled is an actionable threat and not just a suggestion. Your terrain coefficients are excellent, so it's not actually too sluggish on most terrain types. You'll do just fine in both city environments and the great outdoors. So overall, the pros: decent armor, decent firepower, decent mobility. And as for the cons, relatively average traverse numbers and mediocre gun depression. I would still get it, as most tier 10s nowadays are decently playable, though I have to say that the line before the tier 10 doesn't exactly instill confidence. The tier 6 is kind of average, the tier 7 is again kind of average, the tier 8 I do enjoy quite a lot, and the tier 9 you already know my opinions on. So safe to say that this is one of those lines that you should probably leave for later, though if you do prefer this sort of assault playstyle, I think the Powerhouse here is gonna give you something that you're going to enjoy quite a lot. Anyway, time for a replay or two. Alright, so here we are with the replay, a tier 10 exclusive replay actually. I do apologize about being notably delayed because I have had a lot of stuff to do, and then turns out that the Polish TD update came in, and I kind of forgot to record the voiceover during the replay while I was at it in OBS, so I have to do it on the side in Vegas. So excuse the little bit of jank involved. It's not gonna be a particularly high quality recording. Anyway, this replay isn't really that great in terms of damage, it isn't that great in terms of, like, you know, maybe I got a 7-kill game. No, I didn't. What it really is for me is that I feel that this illustrates the way that I play the Powerhouse, to a reasonable degree anyway. I usually start off a little more reserved and then I start going in, because you do have the hit points for a tank destroyer, and that was just an unfortunate shot against the 183, sorry to say. But in general, that's generally what I commit to, that 121 or whatever it is, because I'm looking at this on like a 3-inch preview panel, so I can't really tell you what the tank actually is. Yeah, that was a no shot for me, but because of the frontal armor on the Powerhouse, if you use that limited gun depression, you are basically impenetrable. That BC just doesn't notice us, so that was a unfortunately low roll. We usually roll around 670, but alas. And here is the Rinocerente. He's gonna be a bit of a pain, mostly because that, yeah. Thankfully, we have sucked up that shot from the 183, and this E100 for no reason fires heat while I'm angled like that, so, you know, that's another free bit of blocked damage. In general, this is kind of what I commit to. So I start off a little bit further back, see if I can get a shot or two off early, and then I start going in and I commit to that Assault TD playstyle, where I can also rely on my armor a little bit, especially against tanks like the IS-7, that doesn't have a ton of pen actually for a Tier 10 heavy, and as you can see the Rinocerente is not really aiming that great either. I just barely avoid a punishing shot from the E100, and here the IS-7 pokes out for no good reason, and I basically just get away with it. So again, that's basically how you commit to this. You make sure that you angle, well, slightly. You don't want to angle too much, because then they'll just pin that merging plate, basically. And you want to make sure that your lower plate is at least partly concealed at all times. The cupola that you have on top is not really easy to hit due to how small it is, so that usually is a non-problem for me. So here you can see that I just decided to ignore the E100 altogether and focus on the Rhino, because that's right in front of me, and the E100 is easily distracted, so that was a pretty simple choice. And now that the Rhino is out dry, I can actually just focus on the E100. Like I said, there's not much to be said about this style of replay. The Powerhouse really is just like an easy come, easy go, simple play style, and it really is good when you're feeling like that sort of tactical fatigue and you just want to play something simpler, something easier. It genuinely does deliver in that aspect, so in terms of Tier 10 tanks, the Powerhouse is in the upper half for me. Anyway, that's actually gonna be the battle, so as I have mentioned in the previously recorded part of the review, I do genuinely recommend people to try this thing out, at least for a couple battles, maybe a couple dozen battles. Anyway, that's gonna be it from me. You know the usual spiel, my name is Hab. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And I'll catch you guys later. The next video is gonna be on the Rinocerente. Anyway, see you.